everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. Today I'm going to be telling you about my trip to Salzburg. So back in 2015, my mum, a family friend and I all went over to Europe for 2 weeks. The tour also covered Munich and Innsbruck and Vienna, and we also went to London for a few days before that started. But I think we probably got the most done in those 2 days in Salzburg, so I'm pretty much just going to be talking about those. Besides, that means there's more possibility for future videos. So despite Salzburg being one of the 4 stops on the tour, it was billed as a Sound of Music tour. Now maybe it's just because I'm a freaking diehard Sound of Music fan. Heck, on the tour I was dubbed as the biggest Sound of Music fan to ever walk the face of the earth. But no, it's really not. Not in the way it's billed, and really not in what it was. Actually, it's definitely because I'm the biggest Sound of Music fan to ever walk the face of the earth. But being the biggest Sound of Music fan didn't just mean it was 2 of the busiest days in my life. They also kind of shoved me into the spotlight for those 2 days. Salzburg was the 3rd stop on the tour, and even though we'd been in Innsbruck the day before, we went back through Germany before we actually got to Salzburg. And that was so we could stop by Eagle's Nest, aka where the Von Trapps would have ended up had they walked over the mountains like we see them do in the film. You can see where they filmed that final scene from Eagle's Nest. By the time we got there it was pretty late in the day, but we still stopped by the gazebo. Specifically for me, Lara, our tour guide, who was just wonderful, said she wanted to give me the opportunity of seeing it when I was a bit quieter. And so I got to skip around and singing something good to myself, because who really wants to sing 16 going on 17? The answer is everybody, as was very clear when we went back the next morning. I did a 16 going on 17 sing-along, and I had to lead. It was really awkward, but at least I got some really good photos. In hindsight, I really should have taken that one from the other direction, so you could actually see the gazebo, but c'est la vie. The gazebo is not actually where we see it in the film, and it's not nearly as big as we see it in the film. And that's because, if you didn't know already, when we're in the gazebo in the film, we're not actually in the gazebo. It was a set. The gazebo that you can go and visit was actually only used for background shots in the film. So like here. And you can't actually go inside. Not unless you're somebody famous doing a TV special of some sort. So after the gazebo we went off to Mirabelle Gardens. In case you didn't know, that's where they filmed the last segment of Do Re Mi. And you really have to look around to work out where everything is. Because the statue with the Pegasus is there in the middle, the steps are at the end, the arbor's off to the other side, and that's just one section. The other section has the other statues and the other fountain. I couldn't find the guy they all tap on the head. So after Do Re Mi, and this is still on the guided section of the tour, we went past Residenzplatz, which is where that bit in I Have Confidence is set. And that fountain is enormous. Like, it looks big when Julie reaches in and splashes it in the movie. She looks tiny, but that's just one tiny bit of the statue itself. I didn't even recognize it when I saw it from a distance. It's that big. But of course I splashed it. So that was the end of the guided part of our tour. But there was still so much left to do and so much left to see. So thankfully we had the rest of the day to ourselves. And we didn't stop, like, at all. So Salzburg itself has this little Sound of Music tour that's different from the one we were on. It's a bus ride sort of tour. And you can actually do a hop-on, hop-off sort of version, which is exactly what my mother and I did. So we hopped on one bus and went over and saw the back of the house. So really the lake, because it wasn't so much as back of the house as it was the garden. And I believe it actually wasn't there, if you want to get really technical. I read that they wouldn't actually let them film at that location, so they recreated the whole garden next door and filmed there, and that's where you see the gazebo in the film. So after we saw the back of the house, of course we had to go and see the front. So to do that we went back to the gazebo and got off at that stop, and then walked. And you walk for quite a while. It is nothing like what we see in the film. It's so much quicker in the film. Walking around like this in general is not something I am interested in or enjoy, like, at all. But I was so buzzed and so happy that day that that didn't matter at all. I'm not even sure if I'm getting this in the right order, but after that, or as well, We went back into town and we saw the Rocky Riding School. Again, you can't get inside unless you're going to a concert or something, but that's where they filmed the festival scene. And we got to walk up the steps to the Abbey. It was at the back rather than the front that we see in the film, but it was still awesome to go there. And as we were walking down the steps, we actually saw a real life nun. It was weird, especially since I was wearing a Sound of Music t-shirt and very short shorts that left my tattoo on full display. But you've already seen that from the pictures. But we're not done yet. So our hotel was right next to the Salzburg mountain, which, if you listen in the movie, is mentioned in that one scene before she goes off to the villa. It's meant to be Maria's mountain. It's not. They filmed it at a completely different location. You have to get a cable car up. It is that tall and that steep. But I still had to go up. I still didn't have a photo of me twirling. We did all that in one day. And the next day we headed off for Vienna. But there was still one place we hadn't been, and I'm sure you're all thinking it. We stopped by the cathedral at Monzy. I know I've mentioned it before, but when I was little, the wedding was my favourite scene in the entire movie. And I would walk up and down and up and down and up and down the hallway, forcing my mother and my grandma to sing Maria. So there was no accompaniment this time, but I did walk up and down the aisle. When you go to a lot of these places in real life, Mirabelle Gardens is probably the biggest example. It looks so much smaller. But the cathedral was, but in a different sort of way. It was smaller than you think, but it was also bigger, if that makes any sense. You only see one little bit of the cathedral in the movie. You see, like, the middle of it. There are bits that are just as big on either side. Of course, I was too busy walking up the aisle. But the biggest part was, as we went up to the cathedral, I sat at the front seat of the bus and told everybody a whole bunch of trivia about the movie. It was a lot of fun. I remember just walking around the hotel room the night before, rattling off facts while my mother wrote them down. And so that was everything I did in my 2 days in Salzburg. And as such, everything I've got for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments, have you been to Salzburg? Or what's your favourite movie, vacation, destination, or your favourite holiday in general that you've taken? Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next week. So long, farewell!